Hey, family, welcome into the broadcast of You Are Enough, and I'm your host, Prophetess Nikki. Listen, to those of you who have been praying and you've been waiting on an answer, you've been waiting on confirmation. Is this the time for me to leave this place? Is this time for me to walk away, to leave and start anew? God will give you some subtle signs when it's time for you to leave a place. If you are experiencing uneasiness, if you're feeling discomfort, if doors are closing, no matter how much you do to open that door and to keep it open, you might be trying to pry a door open. And the more you pry, the more it gets shut. That's God letting you know it's time for you to leave a place. And I don't care what you do, how much you invest, it's just not going to work. And the reason why it's not going to work, because God has already told you to move on. But so many of us struggle with actually moving on because we've gotten familiar to the place where we are. You're comfortable where you are. That's your comfort zone. And you're going to have to learn to get rid of that because the comfort zone is going to cause you to be stagnant in life and you're not going to be able to grow. So these are some signs that God has given you. You already know it. So if God has given you these signs, if you are feeling restless, if you're feeling uneasiness, if you're feeling discomfort, if doors are closing, that's God telling you. He's giving you confirmation. It's time for you to leave this place. It's time for you to move on. I don't want you to have the mentality of, it's good where I am. It might be, but you want better. And you can't get better until you leave the place where you are. After much praying, because I'm sure you've prayed so much, and I know God because God has did the same for me. Out of the mouths of two or three witnesses, God is going to establish His word. So if you're feeling like maybe you didn't hear from God, maybe it's me, maybe it's just my emotions, God is always going to silence that part of you because He's not going to let you be unsure. I don't want you to second guess yourself and I don't want you to question yourself. But these are some of the signs that God's going to give you when it's time for you to keep that door closed. He's going to shut it, and nothing that you can do can open it. You're going to be restless. And you know why you're going to become restless? You know why you're going to become so uneasy? Because you're wrestling with obeying God. When you don't obey God, you don't have peace. If you know God has told you something to do and you haven't done it, you're not going to have peace. He's not going to let you. See, in your mind, you're probably trying to figure out everything that you need to figure out, but it don't work that way. As you obey God, it gets worked out. The thing that you're concerned about, what you're worrying about, it's already taken care of. God is literally just asking you to do what I told you to do, to go to the place where I've told you to go. God is your provider. Don't ever forget it. He is your provider, and He is the one that's going to sustain you. God will cause people to sustain you in whatever season that you're in. And this season, I want to encourage all of you to be careful how you entertain people because the Bible strictly tells us be careful how you entertain strangers because you know how many times a day probably we are walking and we're talking to people, but we are actually entertaining strangers. Can you imagine that? You are entertaining a stranger and you're unaware. So keep that in mind in the passing of your day when you're talking to people because it could be an angel that is giving you direction. You know, some of the people that you meet along the way that you never knew, they were basically strangers to you and they so happened to give you a word of confirmation. Didn't even know you. And you probably have said that, wow, this is something that I've been going through. I've been struggling with this. I've been thinking about this. I've been praying about this and here you come. That's your angel. God assigned that person to your life to give you the confirmation that you need so you don't struggle with doing what you need to do. So if God has given you that confirmation, family, do what He told you to do. Go wherever He told you to go because life will not get better until you obey God. Now remember, delayed obedience in the sight of God is disobedience. So obey. Don't look at the natural. Don't look at what you got pressing. Don't look at what's due. Don't look at how in the world can God ask you to uproot your life and uproot your family and go to the other side of the world, because that's where your blessing is. It's not in this place. Your next season, your next blessing, your next miracle, your next breakthrough is not in this season. This is why you got to change seasons and you got to walk in obedience. The doors are going to close because God said, whatever you had to do here is done. It's just like some people that come in your life. Some people don't come to stay because they're temporary people. Some people are permanent. And no matter what you do to people who come to be temporary for a season, you can't make them permanent. You can't. This is why people fall out of relationships with some people. I mean, from a friendship perspective, because you tried to make that person a permanent part of your life. And God said, no, I just called them to your life for a season to help you get to the next place. So if you want the next, you're going to have to turn the pages of your life and you're going to have to walk into this next season. So this is why you are feeling an uneasiness. This is why doors are closing and you're doing the best that you know how, and they're still closing. It seems like life is closing in on you. Why? Because that's God telling you it's time for you to leave this place. And you already know it because your spirit has said it. How many confirmations does God have to give you? Why are you struggling to do what God told you to do? If you're struggling to do what God told you to do, that means you're looking at it from the flesh. You're looking at it from the natural. I don't know anybody. How am I going to make my ends meet? I don't have enough money. God is your provider. So let him prove it. Even if you're struggling to trust, even if you're struggling to understand, tell God he understands, family. God is your high priest. That means he can be touched by the feeling of your infirmities. These are signs that God is giving you that it's time for you to leave a place. It's time for you to leave a person, because you're not going to have peace. You're not going to have any rest. You're going to stay restless until you do what you need to do. Why would God give you peace and he's telling you to leave a person or leave a situation? Why? And you're trying to figure out how you can fix it and make it right. You can't. The only way you can fix it is do what God told you to do. Now, you know what God told you to do. I don't. So whatever he told you, you need to do it. This is why you're feeling what you're feeling, because if you don't walk out on your own and do what you're supposed to do, God will push you out. I can tell you from experience. If you don't move when God tell you to move, nothing in your life gonna go right. Nothing. Things that was working, God will shut it down, because he wants us to walk in the spirit and not the flesh. God knows what you want, family. He knows what you desire. You know why? Because the desires that you have, he gave them to you. So let these things come to pass. Share this message with somebody. Thank you for what you do daily here on our channel. We'll talk later.